promoting a healthy environment. It's the air we breathe. Clean, safe water. Responsible management of our natural resources. We protect and restore for a sustainable future. Environment matters.
When we purchased it in 1993, it was on a severe decline. It may have been lost to the wrecking ball, as many of Wheeling's great historic buildings were.
The restoration of one of West Virginia's most historically significant buildings is also a model of energy efficiency and conservation. We'll take a tour. Plus,
my goal was to try and not have to have a power bill when I retire, and so we'll see if it works out.
As technology improves, the costs continue to come down. Residential solar energy is becoming a viable option for more and more West Virginians. Hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of Environment Matters. I'm Greg Adolphson.
and I'm Kelly Gillenwater. In 1863, the newly formed state of West Virginia's first capital city was actually in Wheeling.
Wheeling served as the state capital from 1863 to 1870 when it was moved to Charleston. But West Virginia's first Capitol building still holds a prominent spot in the city's historic downtown.
And after more than 20 years of restoration work, it's a showplace. The DEP's Jake Glantz joins us now with the details.
Greg and Kelly, restoring a historic building back to a previous time period is tough enough. Incorporating modern energy efficiency into the design while all maintaining the building's historical integrity. Well, that brings a whole new set of challenges. Built in 1858, the building today is home to Wheeling law firm Cassidy, Cogan, Chappell & Vogelin, West Virginia Public Broadcasting, the Wheeling Academy of Law and Science, and other related businesses. That's a far cry from what it used to look like in the early 1990s, when attorney Patrick Cassidy was looking for a new space for an expanding law firm.
I fell in love with it because of its historical significance. And unfortunately, when we purchased it in 1993, it was on a severe decline. It may have been lost to the wrecking ball, as many of Wheeling's great historic buildings were. And I don't know, I just felt, and I think my wife shared our vision that we wanted to preserve it and we wanted to save it for future generations.
He's speaking about his wife, Mary Ellen, who became the driving force to turn a decaying historic landmark into a model of energy efficiency. Let's just say she had her work cut out for her.
One of the things is the building envelope itself. We found out from an energy audit, and anyone, I'd say especially larger buildings, big investments, who's going to do energy efficiency upgrades, it pays over and over to get a good energy audit of the building, so you're not wasting your money on things the building doesn't need. So one of the things was the envelope of the building, and they found out that the building was leaking all around its envelope. And so we had a person come in and repair it, fill in the holes, check the insulation, do the stucco.
The stucco was an addition to the building in the mid-1920s, along with the neoclassical details, and that's the time period the building was restored back to. In addition to sealing the building's envelope, other improvements included all the new energy efficient but historically accurate windows, the installation of a white reflective cool roof to deflect the sun from the building, upgraded and rebalanced heating and air conditioning equipment, and upgraded energy efficient lighting. They even added a solar panel array on the adjacent garage, so not to detract from the building's historic appearance. The array provides about 20% of the building's electricity.
I didn't look at solar first because I believe that energy conservation and efficiency is the foundation of any energy program. What I like about our particular solar installation is here in downtown Wheeling, we get a lot of questions about it. And from those questions, I've gotten many calls on, can you refer us to the co-op or to the installer? And I think it's becoming much more prevalent for several reasons. The primary reason is the prices have dropped exponentially, even within the last 10 years. I mean, they have gone from a system that we probably could not have afforded before to an affordable system now.
And while the outer appearance dates to the 1920s, the historical significance goes back to the Civil War, and from that conflict, the birth of a new state.
It has an interesting history. The building was actually part of, owned by Lindsley Institute in 1863 when our state was founded. And because all the cadets were probably off fighting in the Civil War, Lindsley rented it to the new state of West Virginia. And so on the birthday of the state, June 20th, 1863, the first governor of West Virginia, Arthur Borman from Parkersburg, gave his inaugural address right outside the door here in the turnaround in front of the building. And interestingly, his theme was education. You would think it might have been about the Civil War, which was raging all around, but he talked about education in the new state, and we think that's a pretty interesting legacy. And importantly, we think the 13th Amendment to the United States Constitution abolishing slavery, the 14th Amendment requiring due process of law for all individuals in the country, and also the 15th Amendment, which gave Congress to authorize voting rights acts to ensure equal voting rights for people of minorities and particularly African Americans. They were all ratified by the state of West Virginia in this building.
The DEP honored Patrick and Mary Ellen with this year's Clean Energy Award for their work on the First Day Capitol building. The couple was presented the award at the DEP's annual Environmental Awards ceremony held earlier this year in Charleston. For Environment Matters, I'm Jake Glantz.
Thanks, Jake. Clearly a labor of love. A different sort of historical restoration project is taking place in Mount Hope.
One group is looking to turn a former brownfield site into a magnet for adventure tourism, as well as a celebration of the region's rich coal mining history. Downtown Mount Hope isn't as bustling these days as it was back in the middle part of the 20th century when the New River Company's coal operations were headquartered in the town. Much of the downtown, however, still looks the same as it did back during the town's more prosperous past, and it's that history that organizers with the Mount Hope National Coal Heritage Site hope to use to bring tourism to the region.
We have big plans for this building. We want it to be a part of the Coal Heritage Trail, National Coal Heritage Area is kind of the primary visitor center for those two entities. We will have our offices in here for the Coal Heritage Area, but we also will have an interpretive center where people can come and learn about the coal history. We'll have visitor services, such as where you can pick up brochures, and then to help the sustainability of the project, we'll have a gift shop, and then we'll have a coffee shop built into it. That was one of the things the community told us that they needed in this area was some place that people could come and have coffee, so we'll have that built into it. We have a 7,000 square feet on the bottom floor that we hope to be able to rent or lease to someone as a way to bring in income and keep the building up. So that's our vision for that downstairs part of it. This is an area that gets lots of tourists already. We get the adventure tourists, but we always like to say, let's figure out a way to extend the stay another day and have them bring more people with them. So this is a way to do it, to really share this really important part of West Virginia, our coal history.
Built in the 1920s, the building originally housed a car dealership and over the years changed hands several times before finally ending up with the Central Appalachian Empowerment Zone in 2008. That's when the West Virginia Brownfields Assistance Center conducted a site review and discovered some underground storage tanks, potentially a big problem for redevelopment.
Brownfields have been holding our hand through this whole project. I think the first thing we had done was the Marshall Brownfield Center and DEP helped remove some abandoned tanks, that underground storage tanks that were in the lot where the building is, using their orphan tank funds. So that was the very first thing I think we had done. Then we were able to get a targeted brownfields assessment grant with Marshall helping us do that. To do the environmental assessment on, which was really critical because it gave us a clean bill of health to go on and start searching out other funding sources.
The group also received help from the Northern Brownfields Assistance Center at WVU to develop a sustainable business plan. A combination of DEP and US EPA brownfields funding was used to complete all the required environmental assessment and tank removal work, which cleared the way for the Coal Heritage Group to obtain the property and begin development.
This building is a contributing structure in Mount Hope's historic district. And it's really a prime example of kind of architecture, downtown architecture in West Virginia in the 1920s. Although this one has some unique touches, it has some unique brickwork that we like, but it also really helps preserve the whole history of the town by having this building preserved. We hope that it'll stimulate other people to go, wow, they took that building and did that with it, so maybe we could do some work on our building too. We do have some money to start working on the interior. We have a fundraising campaign going on right now, and we continue to write grants and seek funding to do the interior. We hope to, if we can't get everything done into it, at least get moved into it by next spring so that we can have at least temporary exhibits and a place for people to come and learn about our history. And once we get them in here, we don't just want to keep them here. We want to send them out. We want to send them to Colwood. We want to send them to Welch. We want to send them to Nuttleburg, where that they can see all of that history firsthand.
The West Virginia Brownfields Assistance Center held its annual conference recently in Charleston. The event featured workshops and seminars designed to help communities, groups, and investors looking to redevelop affected properties to navigate the brownfield remediation process. We'll have more from the conference in an upcoming edition of Environment Matters. Harnessing the power of the sun to provide a clean source of electricity is gaining traction as improvements in technology and manufacturing have brought costs down significantly.
But it's more than just solar panels. There's a major effort underway to find a more efficient way to separate clean burning hydrogen gas from water. And part of that research is taking place right here in West Virginia. The DEP's Mike Huff has the details.
It's the first day of fall classes at Fairmont State University, and the students of the incoming class of 2020 aren't the only new thing on campus. Thanks to a grant from the Dominion Foundation, the university installed this solar array to provide power to the library.
They're tied directly into the library, and it's a 4.08 kilowatt system, so on a good day right now, in the next hour, if the sun keeps shining, they'll produce 4 kilowatt hours of energy for us, and it'll all be consumed immediately by the library. We'll probably never outproduce what the library is consuming, but it's a start. Eventually, I would like to be able to have more solar panels on campus, either at this location or perhaps on the rooftops of some of our buildings.
The Dominion grant also goes to support the efforts of the Solar Army, a group centered at Caltech with chapters all over the world that's looking into more efficient ways of producing solar energy. Erica Harvey, a chemistry prof at FSU, is the research director for the Solar Army's West Virginia Brigade.
Specifically, we are interested in finding materials that can help sunlight split water into hydrogen gas and oxygen gas. So that would make a fuel, hydrogen, which is completely clean burning, no carbon involved at all.
Hydrogen can be stored and then used to create electricity using fuel cells. It's the most abundant element in the universe, but on Earth it exists in compounds with other elements. Water, for example, it's the H in H2O. Splitting off the hydrogen takes energy, and the Solar Army is looking for ways to do it with less, making the process more efficient and therefore economically viable.
I think this is an awesome project. So this summer I actually was able to go to Caltech for 6 weeks and mentor on this research for high school students. And so now I get to come back with what I've learned and do even more research with all kinds of areas of solar energy research. Here in my hand I have a plate. It's actually conductive glass, which contains spots of different metal salt solutions. So imagine a little piece of metal, but that's small. And we put it on here, and what we do is we flash light through it to simulate sunlight. So what we're looking for is a way to split water with a material using sunlight. So these little spots are different combinations of solutions that might potentially be the catalyst, the thing that speeds up this reaction that we're looking for.
And while this solar array is only making a small dent in Fairmont State's energy budget, its value in education and outreach may be its biggest impact.
These solar panels are intelligent, so they are reporting out to the internet every 5 minutes on their production. And we can take information like that and be able to use it in our classes. I want to tie in the electronics program, electronics engineering technology program that we have here, the computer science physics, chemistry. We can do a lot of good with this information that's being generated in our classes. And having these on campus, basically a visual reminder of what we can do with free and plentiful solar energy to be able to do something productive with it.
In Fairmont, I'm Mike Huff for Environment Matters.
The Solar Army is funded through a grant from the National Science Foundation. A hotel in Harpers Ferry is now the first solar-powered hotel in the state.
The Quality Inn, located along the William Wilson Freeway, was recently purchased and remodeled by a local outdoor adventure company. Aside from some electric vehicle charging stations, there's nothing unusual about the hotel's outward appearance, but move around to the south side of the building and you'll find the state's third largest solar array. 289 panels make up the array, providing enough power to offset about $10,000 of utility costs a year. The system is projected to pay for itself in about 6 years. The system was designed and installed by Mountain View Solar of Berkeley Springs. Michael McKechnie, the president of Mountain View Solar, walked us through the process of designing an array in a commercial setting.
The first thing usually is we take a look at the facility and we map out how many solar panels will fit on the structure on Google Earth. And then we put together an economic analysis of the number of solar panels, the incentives that you get, and the offset electricity. And the incentives are big. It's a 30% federal tax credit. And with a commercial entity, there's depreciation. So you can depreciate the entire expense in 6 years, which is great. Then you get a lower utility bill, and you're starting to manage your expenses. So you take a utility cost, which has always been an expense, and you take a portion of that and you move it over to the asset column of your balance sheet. And that's really what solar is. It's wonderful, but it's a beautiful financial equation. So it worked for them. They had the tax appetite and they liked the depreciation, and they had a large utility bill. So now they've cut most of that. I think half the bill's been cut in half. It's been cut in half now, so they've got a lower utility bill and they got all the financial incentives. So it was great for them. We had a beautiful ribbon cutting event. You'll get to see, just probably press you've seen for that. And while he was taking the scissors, and Matt Knott, while he was taking the scissors and cutting the ribbon, he said, "Here's to more solar." He understands it, and as a business owner in West Virginia, he'll be putting more solar in on his other buildings.
The hotel is owned by River Riders, Inc. The company leads whitewater rafting, kayaking, and tubing trips on the Shenandoah and Potomac rivers, as well as other outdoor adventure activities. It's located in Harpers Ferry. The DEP has been using solar energy for about 4 years now.
The array mounted on our headquarters building in Charleston was the first one on a state government building in West Virginia.
Installed in 2012, the DEP array is made up of 108 solar panels mounted on the building's roof. Depending on the time of the year and the conditions, the array provides between 10 and 20% of the building's power needs. There are also a series of solar heat exchangers that add to the building's hot water supply. Since commissioning, the array has generated nearly 116,000 kilowatt hours of electricity, reducing the agency's carbon footprint by more than 145,000 pounds of CO2. The building, which was rated LEED Silver status when completed more than 10 years ago, also features several other energy conservation measures, most recently by beginning the process of upgrading lighting inside the building to LED. For individual homeowners, opting to add solar panels to a property can be a daunting prospect.
And that's where local solar co-ops can help out. A solar co-op works by organizing homeowners and bidding the whole project out to get a bulk discount on solar installations. The DEP's Brianna Hickman joins us now with the story of how one local homeowner took advantage of the process.
Greg and Kelly, Paul Hayes says he's always been interested in solar energy, so when he heard that a co-op was forming here in Kanawha County, he decided to give it a closer look.
I've always wanted to have solar power, and ever since I was a kid making erector set toys, making them powered with solar power, I thought it was a pretty ingenious idea in a way. Why couldn't I have that for my house? So they came where I was able to do so I did it.
Aside from the wall art, there's not a lot of solar power to see when you first drive up to Paul's house. Oh, there's the slightly more complex electric meter. No, to see the business end of Paul's solar-powered house, you have to take a little hike up the hill.
You know, I've been looking at that part of the hillside for years, just because I did notice that in December, the fewest hours of sun a day, it was able to get sun starting about 10 in the morning, and it lasted for 3 or 4 hours at least. So I thought that was a good option. And my house has trees that we're standing under, the trees that kind of shade the house as well, and so I didn't really want to take the trees down just so I could have that on top of the roof.
But that's only part of the system. To see the rest, you have to travel to the basement.
The exciting thing about this project is the battery backup system. We used a battery from Sonnen Battery. It's a company from Germany. It's one of Tesla Battery's biggest competitors. And it's finally an off-the-shelf solution for home energy management. Paul got the Eco 12, so it's got 12 kilowatt hours of battery capacity, and they're lithium iron phosphate batteries as opposed to your standard lead acid batteries. And these have a 10-year warranty with a 10,000 cycle estimated lifetime. Now if you use one cycle every day, that's really like a 25-year estimated lifetime. So it's kind of a long-term investment, but it's a real powerful battery chemistry.
Right now, the system is still being calibrated. The panels charge the batteries up during the day, and then the batteries provide power to the house at night. Any excess electricity is transferred back to the grid, a process called net metering. And while the price of solar has come down dramatically, a system like Paul's still isn't cheap.
It was the price of a new car. I mean, a nice car is going to cost you some money, but at the same time, I'd rather have this that'll keep serving me, hopefully, well beyond the miles of a car. My goal was to try and not have to have a power bill when I retire, and so we'll see if it works out. They say about 10 or 11 years for the payback, so hopefully I should get that done.
And that's getting easier. Besides improvements in solar panel and battery efficiency, we're all using less electricity thanks to things like Energy Star appliances and LED lighting. Paul's system was just recently put online, so he's still waiting to see the exact impact on his electric bill, but he's confident he's making a difference. For Environment Matters, I'm Brianna Hickman.
Thanks, Brianna. For a variety of reasons, West Virginia has been slow to adopt solar when compared with other parts of the country.
We sat down with 2 West Virginia-based solar contractors for a conversation about the future of solar energy in the state. Here again are Miles Murray of AAT Solar and Michael McKechnie of Mountain View Solar.
One of the big challenges with solar in West Virginia is actually the utility regulations. There are some really nice things about it, and there's some things that make it pretty complicated. In West Virginia, you can't rent a solar panel system, for example. There's a lot of things that keep people that don't have access to financing from being able to make that purchase. And that's one of the big hurdles. And then the other one is really you can't get drop shipments up on a lot of these hollers, you know. If you live up here, you know that you can't bring a semi up. You can't even hardly bring a box truck up. So we're really moving a lot of the stuff with smaller trucks, and that's fine. I mean, it's just one of the challenges of West Virginia. We've been working in West Virginia for 3 years now, and it's just something we've gotten used to.
We have always seen a vision for the energy legacy in the state of West Virginia to continue, but it has to change. The natural gas industry is the first part of that change, and that's taken a big hold. It's kind of on pause now, but there's a big new revenue stream there, which is great for our state. Wind has grown for years and years in West Virginia. It's a pretty big player in West Virginia, lots of wind power. Solar is just starting, it's emerging, but there's more. If we look at all of the ways to produce energy in our state and not just rely on just one, like we used to, which used to work in the 50s and the 40s, maybe even the 60s and 70s, that started to wane. If we can look at diversifying how we get our energy, I think we can make our state really, really strong in energy again. And it's a perfect opportunity now with the downturn to start to retrain people to work in the renewable energy industries.
West Virginia has a lot of jobs invested in energy, and this is like a new energy sector. And because of all the mountaintop removal sites, these big flat open areas, I feel like there's a real big opportunity, and doing big projects like this and having people make that first step is kind of how we change people's minds about it and people can start to see it not as like a job killing or a competition with coal, but as a new energy sector that we're developing, and how does West Virginia fit into that?
We leave you now to enjoy the sunset along the Ohio River in Cabell County.
On behalf of all of us at the West Virginia Department of Environmental Protection, thanks for watching.
We'll see you next time.
More than 800 people with one mission, promoting a healthy environment. We are the West Virginia Department of Environmental Protection.